Human trafficking for TikTok. The whole thing's a joke. What makes Andrew Tate, once hailed as an icon of masculinity, now merely living on borrowed time? Andrew Tate has become a name mercilessly dissected by the internet. A fractured brand, a collapsing image, and a man who has almost single-handedly destroyed everything he once built. From controversies surrounding scam coins and aggressive live stream rants, buy more, buy more, buy more, buy more, to rumors spreading like wildfire across social media, Tate has become the focal point of criticism and more abandoned than ever. From the pinnacle of fame where millions called him the alpha male, Tate has now turned into a widely mocked figure on the internet, enduring relentless criticism and facing the disintegration of the brand he painstakingly built. But how did everything collapse so quickly? What turned a social media king into the target of ridicule? This video will uncover every detail, every hidden corner, and the secrets few dare to speak about. We have plenty to discuss, so let's get started. Andrew Tate is now merely a shadow of his former self. To understand why a seemingly invincible brand crumbled so quickly, we must rewind the tape back to the years of glory, where the seeds of tragedy were sown. Once a four-time world kickboxing champion, Tate was hailed by millions as an icon of strength and grit. He amassed tens of millions of followers across social media, dominating platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, becoming one of the most controversial yet undeniably prominent figures on the planet. Beyond that, Tate built an online empire worth tens of millions of dollars, where millions of young men eagerly paid to hear his lessons on getting rich, and becoming an alpha male, and being a member of our school, and being offered a bank account with a credit card, with a $1,000 limit. Right? That's not money for wasting. There will be a guide with that credit card and that $1,000 limit of how to use it, how to spend it, how to pay it off, how to increase your credit rating in the real world. The nickname Top G became a global brand. For many, it symbolized an extreme, untouchable version of masculinity, and Tate knew exactly how to exploit it. His strategy was simple, but chillingly effective: selling a dream. For just a few dozen dollars, anyone could join an online course, buying into the illusion that they were on a path to dominate life. Millions bought in, turning Tate into a rare phenomenon in the internet world. I am working with the SEC so that the real-world token could be launched as a security. The goal is that you can buy the token and own a percentage of the school. So imagine you sign up for the real world. You start to make money. You focus on your tasks. Then you can invest that money in the real-world token and get paid every single month a monthly dividend from the profits of the school. But then that glory didn't collapse from a punch in the ring, but from a fall in real life. In December 2022, Tate was arrested in Romania on serious charges related to illegal activities. The bizarre pizza box detail became a global anecdote, a mocking symbol of his downfall. From that point, he was placed under house arrest, barred from leaving Romania, yet still sat in front of cameras continuing to sell a dream he no longer controlled. And then the public realized the sex scandal was just the beginning. The real storm came from darker corners, scam coin controversies, aggressive live stream rants, and hidden secrets. These were the ticking bombs that one by one detonated, pushing Andrew Tate from Top G to a living testament of a self-destructing brand. But the scandals didn't stop there. As the first cracks appeared, the name CoffeeZilla, a YouTuber renowned for exposing shady financial schemes, emerged as Tate's arch nemesis. Ah, yes. The normal reaction for people who don't care, melting down on Twitter about how not worried you are. We'll come to Tate's mental breakdown in a moment, but you should know this isn't Tate and I's first run-in. He didn't like it when I exposed his get-rich-quick scheme over a year ago, but this time Tate stepped into my territory, said he was going to launch a crypto coin. A war of words erupted. Tate responded with his trademark arrogance, claiming to be a victim of the Matrix, manipulated by the media, but that arrogance backfired. It only made the audience more curious. They flocked to CoffeeZilla's channel, eagerly watching each takedown video as if it were a gripping TV drama. This is my statement to you, CoffeeZilla. I guarantee I drink more coffee than you. I accidentally leaked your email address. Now everyone's calling you. Okay. I regret nothing I've ever done. For every single person who can show me they have emailed CoffeeZilla and called him gay, I will buy daddy. I accidentally beat your email address. And CoffeeZilla knew how to capitalize on that attention. The more people tuned in, the more evidence he revealed. From Tate's involvement in scam coin projects to a business model bluntly called a digital pyramid scheme. Each detail stripped away the glossy image Tate had built. Every time Tate fired back, thinking he could silence the critics, it had the opposite effect. It only poured fuel on the fire. A perfect spiral of attention unfolded. The more Tate deflected, the more reason Kafizia had to dig deeper, and the more the public reveled in watching a top G turn himself into a source of entertainment. From that moment, Tate's image was no longer that of a masculine icon, but a public spectacle where every misstep was live streamed, dissected, and mocked. The once alpha male became a living meme, spreading at breakneck speed. The bitter irony is that this scandal didn't dim his spotlight. On the contrary, it drew even more eyes to him. But the brighter the light shone, the more it exposed the contradictions. An alpha male ridiculed through parody edits. A man of steel facing mockery from the online community. And that was the fatal blow. The first crack on the path to Andrew Tate's complete downfall. Because this is only the prelude. Beyond the antics of memes and verbal sparring, a greater storm is brewing. One involving cryptocurrency promises of wealth and the return of Kafizia. No longer to mock, but to investigate suspicions of shady financial activities. As per Kafizia's analysis, after the controversy surrounding mocking memes, Andrew Tate quickly ventured into a more attention-grabbing arena, cryptocurrency. Notably, he had previously publicly dismissed crypto as a cheap scam. Are you going to launch your own crypto? No, I'm never launched crypto. I just like to crypto because crypto Twitter are believed the biggest degenerate losers on the planet. They're losers. Crypto is the only scenario I can think of where you can make a whole bunch of money while benefiting societies. Yet by late 2023 to 2024, Tate launched his own token while rolling out the real-world platform, charging $50 a month. During promotional events, he made grand promises, profits from the token, a supportive wealth-building community, and a vision of financial freedom for participants. Observers noted that this model bore striking similarities to a multi-level marketing financial scheme. What started as some fringe idea between two brothers trying to empower all of their fans. Yeah, money makes money. So we have to give you money. We have to give you access to credit. We have to give you access to money that's being done by fundraiser.com. Networking makes money. We're going to give you access to that via the Job Draw Board in Real World 2.0. Certification. We're going to make sure you have a certificate. So, if you dedicate a few months inside of the Real World 2.0, we're going to leave the same certificate that you would get. In this context, YouTuber Kafizilla, renowned for his investigative videos exposing dubious projects, re-emerged. Instead of ridiculing Tate as before, he sent a direct email questioning the mechanics of Tate's token and raising suspicions of a Ponzi scheme structure. Tate's response stirred further controversy. Rather than providing a detailed explanation, he chose to live-stream attacking Kafizia, publicly sharing his email and urging fans to spam comments in opposition. Thousands of viewers joined in, turning the live chat into a virtual battleground. Notably, during the broadcast, Tate introduced a stunt involving Daddycoin. Every time fans spammed the phrase, "Kafizilla is weird," he would pump the price of his coin. The incident quickly spread across social platforms, prompting many to ask, how did a single questioning email escalate into a public financial event, resembling a game? According to many commentators, this marked a critical turning point. The scandal was no longer just about humor or personal disputes, but had evolved into a far more serious issue, one directly tied to financial activities and the trust of the community. The climax of the confrontation came on November 25, 2024, when Kafizilla officially released an investigative video about Andrew Tate. If his previous efforts were limited to questioning emails, this time it was a detailed exposé, complete with evidence and analysis. In the video, Kafizilla highlighted the contradictions in Tate's messaging, from once calling crypto a cheap scam, to launching his own token and promoting it as a wealth-building tool. More crucially, he exposed the mechanics of the token, comparing it to a disguised multi-level marketing financial scheme. According to his analysis, the promised profits didn't stem from real value, but relied heavily on recruiting more participants, a familiar cycle of multi-level marketing structures. The video also focused on the psychological aspect, how Tate exploited the near-blind loyalty of his young male fan base. Slogans about being an alpha male and promises of wealth were used as tools to draw the community into a high-risk game. While Tate himself profited from the influx of money, I can apologize. I can admit when I'm wrong. Clearly, it was a joke. Tate would never actually scam people with a coin. Oh, it turns out he did multiple times. and now is planning to launch a coin if you stay subscribed to his get-rich-quick scheme. CoffeeZilla's investigation quickly went viral, garnering millions of views in a short time. On social media platforms, many called it a direct hit to the image Tate had painstakingly built. No longer just scattered accusations or mocking rumors. This time the evidence, data, and arguments were laid out like a public indictment. For the public, this was a turning point. The image of a media-dominating alpha male was now juxtaposed with allegations of hypocrisy and financial manipulation. For Tate, the November 25 video was no longer just a war of words. It was a moment of facing the threat of complete collapse. If CoffeeZilla's video was seen as the first direct punch that shook Andrew Tate's glossy empire, less than a month later, another crisis hit. This time from within the very empire he boasted about. On December 18, 2024, Tate faced a technological disaster. Over 800,000. The real-world accounts had their personal data leaked. Emails, phone numbers, and even payment histories flooded underground forums. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of loyal fans, who once believed they were joining an alpha army, became prey to phishing scams, financial spam, and even extortion calls. But instead of treating the incident as a wake-up call, Tate downplayed it, even turning it into a marketing tool. On a live stream, he dismissed it as a matrix fabrication, then seized the opportunity to further promote his platform. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have built criminal records anywhere on the planet, ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December, in Romania, under the Biden administration, and our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go in return. This is the democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or carefully constructed narratives from George Soros funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow. If CoffeeZilla's expose cast Tate as a hypocrite, the data breach turned his loyal fans into real victims. And that's when the community's anger began to boil over. No longer just online mockery, but a palpable sense of public betrayal. Crack. The reaction from fans after the data breach was truly the big explosion. Those who once proudly boasted about learning in the real world suddenly found their emails flooded with spam, and their accounts targeted by cheap scams. They didn't just lose money, they lost faith in the icon they once saw as their guide. The wave of anger spread rapidly. Forums, private groups, and Twitter X were flooded with bitter complaints. Some still tried to defend him, but most couldn't hide their sense of betrayal. Many fans expressed their disappointment and fury. I used to pay $50 a month to learn how to be an alpha, and now I've become a victim of email phishing. How ironic. Another person angrily spoke out. Tate claims to protect his fans, but when his fans get hacked, he blames it on the Matrix. Did the Matrix plant malware in his database or something? It's not just a few isolated voices. A wave of outrage has spread even within Tate's most loyal community. Someone bitterly admitted, "We didn't just lose our data. We lost our respect." And he's even treating this like a marketing campaign. But the storm didn't stop there. From the data leak that left the community feeling betrayed, the next scandal dealt a direct blow to the very alpha aura that Tate had always preached. In early 2025, a leaked video began spreading rapidly online. Many believed its content suggested violent behavior in Tate's relationships, sparking a fierce backlash across the internet. Before the shock could subside, a series of ex-girlfriends came forward, confirming experiences of control, threats, and moments of tension that crossed boundaries. In an instant, the narrative of the alpha male protector of women was completely turned on its head. The internet erupted with outrage and sarcasm. Alphaware. All I see is a toxic, abusive man. This event was not just a personal scandal. It was a fatal blow, shattering the image Tate had painstakingly built. If people could previously debate about cryptocurrencies or his courses, this time the issue cut straight to moral convictions. The man who once lectured the world on how to love and protect women was now accused of doing the exact opposite. All his preaching, all the imagery of the alpha male crumbled, leaving only serious allegations of violent behavior in relationships, powerfully challenging his alpha male persona. Looking back at the series of events surrounding Andrew Tate, we see a familiar paradox of the digital age. Fame can be inflated in an instant, but it can also collapse with a single misstep. When an image is built on hollow slogans rather than a moral foundation, its downfall is not a matter of chance. But an inevitability, Tate's story also serves as a reminder of the fragility of trust. In a world where promises of wealth and power easily captivate millions, audiences often forget that actions are the true measure. And when those actions reveal contradictions, the mask falls faster than any promotional campaign can salvage. The lesson is not just for Tate but for everyone. Social media influence is not an invincible shield. It only endures as long as it is nurtured by authenticity and respect. Once trust is betrayed, no matter how dazzling the aura, it becomes merely a fleeting flash before fading away. Ultimately, which matrix was it that defeated Andrew Tate? That was the question many were asking in late December 2024, when Andrew Tate faced a harsh reality. It wasn't the haters, it wasn't the media, nor was it CoffeeZilla. The fatal blow came from a London court. In a shocking ruling, over $2 million USD was seized in connection to tax evasion allegations. According to London court records, the income from the real-world platform, crypto promotions, and all sorts of alpha projects was meticulously listed in the court documents. If previously he could dodge scandals with his usual excuses, this time the paperwork and numbers left him no room to escape. The price of his so-called financial genius turned out to be a cold, hard figure on a tax statement. And the blow was even more bitter, as it came right when Tate was trying to recover from a series of controversies. CoffeeZilla's investigative video, the data leak, and the personal scandals. Yet Tate didn't change his script immediately. He blamed the Matrix on a live stream. He claimed the authorities were intimidated by his influence and were out to attack him. Once again, he turned defeat into a conspiracy theory, but this time the audience wasn't buying it. The internet quickly turned the situation into a collective joke. One mocking comment read, "An alpha can escape any trap except the tax trap." Another quipped, "Turns out the Matrix is a London tax office employee, not some anonymous hacker." From that moment, the narrative was no longer in Tate's hands. He was once a master of manipulating words, turning every scandal into an opportunity to bolster his brand. But in the face of a court ruling, the truth was undeniable. Losing over $2 million was just the surface. What he lost even more was his image and symbolic power. For his fans, this was the final wake-up call. The man who preached that the rules don't apply to alphas had to bow before the most basic things: taxes and the law. For the public, it was an ironic ending. The man who once challenged the world was brought down by a tax bill. And from that moment, Tate not only lost money, but also his image, becoming a name mocked more than admired. A man once hailed as an invincible icon now stood as proof of an age-old truth. You can fool the public for a while, but you can never fool the numbers on a tax return. But the climax didn't end there. After the blow from London, Tate entered his final gambit: escape. In March 2025, he suddenly announced his departure from the US to return to Romania with a bold declaration: "I'm going back to prove my innocence." A statement that sounded like the opening salvo of a fiery legal battle. But reality was far colder. Many sources suggested this wasn't an act of bravery, but a calculated retreat, an attempt to evade the risk of arrest in the US. The image of the alpha who defied the world now resembled more a man fleeing under the cover of darkness, cloaked in grandiose rhetoric. And then the fatal blow came from across the ocean. The Florida Attorney General's office issued an immediate statement. The investigation would continue, and if Andrew Tate set foot in the US again, he would face prosecution immediately. A blunt warning devoid of flourish, leaving no room for speeches about the Matrix. Only the stark truth remained. The United States had slammed the door shut in his face. In that moment, Tate didn't just lose money and his image. He lost the biggest stage of all, the one he had leveraged to become a global phenomenon. From an arrogant icon, he was now reduced to the figure of an exile, living in fear that a single flight to the wrong destination could land him behind bars. From the pinnacle of social media stardom, Andrew Tate once positioned himself as untouchable, an alpha male celebrated by many, a phenomenon who knew how to turn every scandal into a tool to bolster his brand. But step by step, that wall began to crack. From CoffeeZilla's expose to the data leak that turned fans into victims, to the relationship scandals that laid bare stark contradictions. And finally, the hammer of the law, over $2 million sized in a warning from the US, tightened the noose around an image once thought invincible. Now Tate is left as a mere shadow of himself. A man who claimed to fear no Matrix yet fled the US in haste. A figure who taught millions of fans how to become alpha warriors, yet failed at the most basic things: truth, law, and accountability. Can Tate continue to survive on his gimmicks? Or are these the final months of a self-proclaimed alpha legend who shot himself in the foot?